when we understand awareness and to create reality at will.
It goes pretty deep because you, in the book, bring us into this awareness that potentially we even choose, or I think it's put in the way that our inability to master attention is the root cause of death, rebirth, etc., etc.
Yeah,
Can
literally.
you unpack that a little bit? Because that sounds intense.
I can. It is. So I want to think of an analogy that's easier. Our attention has been on the idea of life and death, the concepts, and that's all they are, concepts. Consciousness is eternal. Life and death are just concepts. It's really all they are. They only happen in your mind. So, but we have been so focused on so-called death. We've believed in it for so long. Our attention has been on it for so long that we have actually adhered ourselves to it, and we now actually truly believe that that is required. And it's because we don't have control over our attention, our awareness, attention, and single pointedness of focus. That, as an example, right? Paramahansa Yogananda, who left his body, he did not die. He left his body at 59 years of age, and he announced to everybody, he was giving a lecture, the concepts of life and death. We can literally transcend the concepts of life and death. That does not mean that incarnations don't have a beginning and an end. They do. But what this does require is putting our attention on what gives birth to beginnings and endings, just as the ageless alchemist has done and continues to do, and what Paramahansa Yogananda has done, and other masters have also done that. We can all do this, but we have to be working with ourself directly in a very different way. And in order to do that, we have to take our attention away from the fear of death. And then when we transcend that, I got a feeling we're going to start seeing lots of people doing this. Simple. Everything is simple, Emmerich. Everything. Once the mind is out of the way, everything is simple. So it is, and this is some of the exercises that I have people do in classes and courses. I said, make 3 promises to yourself. And I don't care what they are. They can be as mundane as, I'm going to clean out the closet that I've been putting off for 6 months, right? I'm going to reorganize my desk because it's a friggin' mess, and I know I need to do it, but I just keep putting it off. So things like that. This is not like I need to find the cure for cancer, which we've had 20 times. So these are just everyday mundane things. Make the promise to yourself, and then you do it that day no matter what. And you give yourself no justifications and no excuses as to why you didn't do it. It's as simple as that to develop your will. If you do that even for a couple of days, try it. A time ago, we didn't have contracts. We didn't have anything like that because we operated more in the way that I'm talking about. Your word meant everything. We didn't need a signed piece of paper. You gave your word to somebody. That was it. That was it. And by the way, that's the greatest thing my earthly father taught me in this life. We didn't have the best relationship. That is for sure. But if my dad said he was going to do something, oh, for fuck's sake, he would absolutely do it. I knew when he said, hey, son, I'll be there. I'll pick you up. I'll be there. Or if he said, you know what, don't worry about it. I'll take care of that for you. He meant it. And I could count on him 100%. That's the single greatest gift I feel my father has given me. If I say something, I'm going to do it. Period. So I can count on myself. And what that means is those around me can count on me as well.
It goes pretty deep in the Eastern traditions as well, because there's 3 different types of karma, and verbal, is monetary karma that we accrue all the time by saying things, and we're actually setting off all different courses of actions just through words. And this is why a lot of I imagine this is part of why a lot of the yogis take these vows of silence, because they're just trying to wipe their hands clean of some of the karma that's being generated, right? To just not have to participate at least one of the limbs of karma. Well, will's this incredible driving force, and not to make commitments and promises to fundamentally to ourselves that we can't, and that will help develop this incredible will. That seems like step 1. And then from there, we've got this process of, okay, we've got a bit of a will, But then even then, sometimes I'm sure there's like all these forces. Like I'm just picturing people doom scrolling in some way. I don't know why that's the example that's coming up, but it is in my mind. And then like even with that will, it's like people understand like how to hijack likes, like dopamine and stuff like this, and then your will's kind of been put into service into this agenda that's on the other side of something else. Like, yeah, there's a little bit of what's at play there, and how do we refine and course correct our will there?
Well, we choose distraction because we're not in alignment with ourselves. If we were authentically in alignment with ourselves, we would put our attention on what it is that we want to create, the life that we desire. I knew that. I knew that guy was a bad guy. I knew that candidate was a bad guy. I knew that politician was a bad guy. Or, oh, I knew that politician was great. I knew that politician was going to, or whatever it is, right? It's just constantly filtering reality to affirm our identity. But that's the false character. So the I am doesn't do that. The I am only puts its attention on what it is that it desires to manifest for itself. So yeah, go ahead.
Well, some people jump in here at this point and say, I've jumped in, but some people jump in at this point and say, well, something more, or you're feeling like you're not thriving in life, touch wood, the way that you ought to be. Then we've got guidance to take you even deeper. You've got support from me one-on-one, and you've also got a like-minded, like-hearted community, masterminding, master-hearting together through guidance together. And you don't have to take my word for it. This is how people all over the world have transformed through guidance.
Everything just kind of fell into place, and now I'm on a path that I actually believe in and I'm excited about, because I feel like I'm becoming my best self.
Over those 2 years, I have done so much. I can't believe where I am now. I'm thrilled where I am now. Not only was he a coach, but he became a divine presence in my life.
You can show up to Amrit with all sorts of chaos in your life, and you leave feeling completely centered with some direction that is going to get you results. It's just magic when you're in coaching with Amrit. You just flow with it all.
I feel that I have access and connection to somebody who is deeply entrenched in my development.
If you're thinking about it, just do it. You won't regret it.
So what are you waiting for? If you feel the call, then join me on a call. amritsandhu.com/call. Link on screen now, and also at the top of the description in the show notes below. Join me in a call. Let's dive in deep to your path, onwards, upwards, and inwards from here. I'm looking forward to seeing you in a call. Go on, I'll see you there. There's a piece in there for me which I've been leaning into when people do ask me this question. I refer to resourcedness, and I'd love to get your thoughts on that, because there is an interesting thing about that, though, is like that's come from some practice of maturity, because I've noticed what used to happen was when I was tired was the time where you were most susceptible to the dopamine hits.
Yeah.
Because that's also like, and so it's like, oh, I'm tired. It's like, oh, maybe I could just like, distract myself out of all of this state. And then you end up in these really, and this sort of comes back to what we were saying before in terms of some of these forces that are at play, keeping us in these places potentially where we're not fully resourced and fully centered. We're easier, I don't want to say we're easier to hijack, but it's just an easy way to sort of describe in simplistic terms, into these spaces where our attention can actually be harvested. Is that accurate?
Yeah. Well, think about the term or the saying, paying attention. Think about what we're saying, paying attention.
That
right
sacred currency thing. Yeah.
There is an energetic cost. Here to the questions that are written out, and you'll start to understand, okay, am I getting a positive ROI on the debit of your attention? Because you're paying attention to certain things. What is the ROI on the paying attention to this thing? When we start to understand attention is currency, it's our life force. We use our attention, which is our energy, for everything. We have to be supremely mindful with self-control and self-discipline over where we're putting our attention. If we start to do this, this planet can change overnight, because attention is energy. If you don't give certain things energy, let's use a relationship, right? You have kids. The word soul, to me, is inaccurate, because we've kind of lumped these things together. Like we've lumped the I am, our wisdom, our intelligence, and our energy. It's all one thing, and that's it isn't. Upon deep introspection and total detachment and losing your mind, you can actually see these things. They're completely separate. They're two separate things that work together. So the I am, awareness, attention, single-pointedness of focus, and woven within the screen of that consciousness is our depth, is our love and wisdom. The energy that we use is given to us, our body of energy, which includes our physical body and our subtle body of energy. It's the life force that we have for an incarnation. And it is a finite amount that can be manipulated, but it's a finite amount. That's what our will is. Our will is our energy. And it becomes our willpower when our energy is fixed on something. It's like, that's why I say I'm going to use my willpower and I'm going to do this, whatever it is, right? But they're two separate things. Because the I am without energy is literally inert. We would all just be sitting here and nothing happening. So it's the energy that can be commanded by the I am, by the sentience. But they are two separate things. And this also helps us not identify with the physical body and with experiences and with phenomena like thoughts, emotions, bodily sensations. It's very easy to start to see these things as separate when we understand the truth. Therefore, we won't identify with every thought because, well, that's me. I'm the energy and I'm the this. No, it's not. It's not true, right? So the I am is the awareness and the depth, and it's given a body of energy and a subtle body of energy, and then the life force that we have to actually create with. So they're two different things. But the key is to be able to. That's not what reality is. That is a grand reduction, because everything is happening right now. All of it is happening right now. So without thinking, we don't produce time, and without time, you would actually realize that you are connected to and part of everything right now. Now, when you realize that, we would be evolving ourselves. I hate using this word. We would be evolving ourselves in a quantum way, because that means such bullshit for so many people. But it wouldn't be linear, Amrit. That's what I mean. We wouldn't go through this A and then B and then but the beginning and the end is right here, right? But it's thought that traps us in time. It's thinking that traps us in time and creates the delusion of knowledge.
For just about everybody listening to this podcast, yeah? And most of the people listening to this podcast I'm very humbled at how aware most of the people are. And then on the way to there, I think, before we dive all the way there, we've been discussing what sort of traps us, but also the thing that, how do we get out, and it's like, from having read the book, I've got this awareness that it's actually orienting your attention, and awareness is this really powerful, and back hinges on that thing you referred earlier to the podcast, which is choice. Mm-hmm. You've got this thing which is sacred, which is choice. But yeah, like, because for some people it's like, okay, well, I just not pay attention to that, which is one way of going about it, but actually you're always going to be paying attention.
Stay in flow. And then at some point, holy shit, the book's done. Wow, okay, great. It's kind of like when you drive, you're going to drive to the store, right? If you are constantly looking and marking and checking how many miles, okay, 3.4 miles. Okay, we have another, okay, now we're at 3.5 miles. Okay, another, you cannot enjoy the ride. I mean, that would be the worst backseat driver in the history, right? Are we there yet? Are we there? I used to do that as a kid. Are we there yet? Right? Okay. So once you have some passion, whatever that is, and it doesn't matter, right? Then it's about expressing it, sharing it, expressing, right? It's not about being tied to an outcome or a result. Now, what you're gonna realize, it's just like setting your GPS to go to the store. You're gonna let your intention to get to the store is just going to carry you. If you're not tethered to this and that and him and her and this, if you're not tethered to all these different things, to these different goals, if you're not tethered to any of these things, your intention will literally carry you right through. And this is this agendaless drive. Because the motivation is coming from within you, it never wanes. When our motivation is derived from something outside of ourselves, it's not predictable. And you never know when it's going to disappear, when it's going to come and go. But if the drive is coming from you and then you don't set these markers that you have to keep checking upon, what you'll realize is that your intention will literally carry you through the whole thing. And now all of a sudden you're in this flow state. And there isn't really an effort. It's just about being present and being in flow with what you're doing, right? It's like dancing, right? You don't think about anything. It's not really an effort. You don't, it's like, if I do this and do this, wait, what's my next one? Wait, I have a goal to be able to move both my arms at the same time when I'm dancing. So wait a minute, time out. Let me focus on this. Let me map books and bestsellers and blah, 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 right? I don't celebrate those things. It's not, I don't ignore them, or I don't pretend they're not occurring. I'm aware that they are occurring. But
no pomp required.
no, it's just this flow. It's just this flow, and the markers, the achievements, these are the things that actually stop flow.
And
I know that's
yeah, I can feel people's EMIs quaking in their boots as you're saying and describing this flow.
Yeah.
Like,
well, there's another way to say this that will really piss people off. Okay, and I used to say this all the time.
So we probably should have mentioned it then.
Yeah, right.
We're definitely gonna go there. Sorry.
Yeah. So let's get ready to be triggered, right? So okay. So this is a trigger warning. Okay. I used to say this. I stopped saying it. Then every now and then I'll bring it back. But it's right in line. This is the truth. Okay. Whether we want to see it, recognize it, work with it or not, that's up to everybody else. Planning is for cowards. Planning is for cowards. Now, that's heavy. Now, I'm not saying that if you're going to have a vacation, we all look for ways to say, wait, but what about this, RJ? I got you with this one. I'm not talking about you want to take a vacation with your wife and kids, that you don't call the airline and plan a week ahead of time. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is if you're mapping out everything, right, you are actually confining everything. You're confining yourself. So it's kind of like just have this passion, have this determination, right? Follow your intention. Forget the how is none of your business. Faith can move mountains, literally, and faith can heal, literally. So faith and belief have nothing to do with each other. And beliefs are just a string of justified thoughts. That's all they are.
Yeah. Do you know where I get tripped up here is you can actually... Sorry, I keep interrupting. Trying my best not to. Thoughts you can cultivate to cultivate beliefs, which understandably we can see the sort of mire that's creating and the sort of illusion that it is now at this juncture in the conversation. And yet there is such a programmatic way about going about establishing a belief, which is, unfortunately, but it is handy. Whereas with faith, how do you go about developing faith? It seems like it's either one of those things you've either got the grace to have it or you don't.
Oh, okay, I understand. Okay, faith can absolutely be developed. Faith is in direct correlation to you trusting yourself. Because by trusting in yourself, you're going to be trusting in the greater reality, trusting in the universe, trusting in God, however you want to phrase that. So faith can absolutely be developed, and it's tangible. When we know something to be true, we know it. I have complete faith in whatever, right? That's tangible. Now try to feel a belief. Go ahead and do it. What does that feel like?
Feels wispy.
Right. Yeah. That's because there's nothing there. That's because they're made up. Just like thoughts. They're made up. And that's why they say there's nothing there. There really isn't. Faith and belief have nothing, and we use them interchangeably. It's like pain and suffering. You'll be free of that thought instantaneously.
There is this part in the book where early on in the book you refer a lot to knowing, and later on one of the traps that we mentioned before, the EMI itself, time, and then knowledge is one of them. And it just, it's sort of stuck with me a little bit because the knowing is one of my deepest fascinations in life, like 100%. Like it's just, there's a knowing, even as a guide or a coach or a mentor, whatever you want to call it, people come in and it's like, why do you want to do this? And it's like, and then you dig beneath the surface and it's like, I don't know, there's a knowing. And I'm like, okay, now we're onto something. Talk to me about the knowing, It's like a cellular, bone deep thing. But it's interesting because they both have the word know, but knowledge is like lives here out in the belief things, unimbued, and knowing is over here. And it's like that, it's almost misleading. the fact that they both have the word know in there, but knowledge is out there and knowing is over here. I just wanted to hear you sort of articulate that to us, because I think it'd land for me deeper hearing it from you.
Yeah. So I always phrase it as so-called knowledge, right? Which is about as big a slap in the face as I could give the word knowledge by calling it so-called knowledge, right? So, right, as we talked before about a string of thoughts, a string of justified thoughts, this belief.